So the second time I've tried live streaming, I've got no one. So I'm gonna start talking and showing what I got to show, and then hopefully be able to upload this, which I've been unable to do the past several videos. I've tried doing on my phone. I don't know if that's my phone, or the YouTube app, or what, or both. It's probably my phone. I don't have a lot of memory left on it. I think that might have something to do with it. Anyway, so um, it's a tile Walmart, right? I generally hate Walmart. I hate going there. Um, my wife every once in a while try to get us to go there. Say, she'll go and she'll be like, I went and got groceries there today, and saved a lot of money, and that's awesome. But I fucking hate Walmart. I really, excuse my language for any youngins out there, because I think I have a few younger subscribers. I hate Walmart. I hate the people that go. Most people that go there. If you need to actually ask an employee something, they usually have no idea what you're talking about. They look like you're speaking an alien language. Anyway, that being said, there's two Walmarts in my area, and I went to the one closest to my house a few days ago, because I was over there going to other stores, and I needed to get something for my wife's lunches at work. So instead of going to a grocery store that wasn't nearby, I said, screw it, I'll just go into Walmart. But when I went in there, I'm like, you know what? I'll go in there and I'll cruise through the clearance areas just to see what they got. Well, I scored big time with that. Uh, and I actually walked around the store and found they have one big clearance section. And then I walked around the store some, like in the areas I usually don't go, like back in the nooks and crannies. And I found out that there are several other smaller clearance sections in the store. Um, and I found stuff like I found it's like a $50 Coleman propane gas lantern. They had several of them on clearance for $20 a piece. There was just some other stuff. Me and my wife just recently purchased actually this truck I'm sitting in. It's a new to me truck. It's a 2001 Chevy 2500 HD. My first pickup truck. I just turned 34 at the beginning of January, and I've always wanted to pick up trucks since I was 16, and it only took me almost 20 fucking years to get one. So I finally have one. I don't care it's used. It's in super good condition. It's got low miles for not only this type of truck, but for the age on it. It's got less than 100,000 miles on it. I love it. But we got a 32-foot fifth wheel camper that we bought with it too. So we've been getting stuff to put in the camper for when we go on camper trips with it. So I got some stuff for that there. So today, I had to go out and do a few things. I decided to go to the other Walmart on the other side of town that I very rarely go to. I just don't go that side of town that much unless it's actually going to a hardware store. It's over there. But I figured, it's getting bright out now. I figured with the finds I got at the other Walmart, that'd be worth going and checking out. And I'm glad I did. So some of the stuff was the same stuff that they had at the other Walmart the few days before that wasn't quite priced. It wasn't stuff I needed. But it was stuff I would buy if it was cheap enough. And they had one item in particular that was priced half of what it was priced at the other store. So I bought two of them for no reason, just because. So I'll stop rambling. I'll only get the stuff out of the back seat and I'll show you. Oh my goodness. So I'm afraid I'm going to become what I have grown to hate and start cruising Walmart every week or so for this stuff. But some of the stuff was a no-brainer to buy. Some of it, like I said, I didn't need, but it didn't cost that much. So probably the best deal I got was they had several of these Lodge cast iron skillets This is a 10-inch cast iron skillet, $7. Says that it was $14.97. For this type of skillet, this size, I won't be surprised if it was actually more than $14.97. That $14.97 wasn't a sale or a clearance price at one time. It actually was probably more. It might not have been. It might have been that cheap. But got that specifically to put in our camper because I've got several cast iron skillets at our house already. So that'll go in the camper or be reserved for like camping trips, primitive camping trips. If any of you have ever heard of the Pioneer Woman, she's got her own cooking show on the Food Network. She's in Oklahoma. She's got her own store and restaurant there. It's called the Mercantile, the Pioneer Woman Mercantile, I believe is the whole. Me and my wife actually went there last year when she was on spring break from work. It's in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. It is absolutely beautiful there. We stayed at a state park in a cabin. Beautiful area. Cool little cute store in a small town. Really doing a lot for their small impoverished area. Because if you're not like a cattle rancher or oil man that's making good money, there's a lot of poverty there. But anyway, so she's got her own line of cooking stuff, cookware that they sell at Walmart. They're just getting ready to come out with new stuff for the spring and summer. My wife follows the stuff. We actually have our kitchen is just covered with Pioneer Woman stuff. But her utensils are actually pretty good quality. They're metal and wood. This is a potato masher. It was like $4. I think it was like originally like $8 or something like that. I use a masher to mash potatoes. And something else I figured out that you have to do when you're going through the clearance stuff. Do yourself a favor, make it easy on yourself. Most Walmarts will have a few of the price check scan centers throughout the store. Find one of those or find an employee that's got the little pricing gun and have them check everything before you go to the front. Sometimes the stuff isn't priced at what it's tagged, which they should give it to you if it's tagged at a cheaper price. Some of the stuff isn't tagged at all, so you don't know the price of it. And then some of the stuff is actually cheaper than what's tagged as. So in that case, you would want to probably go back with some stuff and grab more of it. That's why I did the other day. But in one area, they had some automotive stuff, and they had radiator stop leak. These were priced as $1, and they actually ran up as 50 cents. So I got 2 of these. I think that was all they had left was 2 of those. There are ones around here somewhere. This bone saw, camless bone saw with a sheath. I actually saw this several months ago, actually at the other Walmart, and it wasn't quite cheap enough for me to buy. I've never had to use never really had a need for a bone saw when I've been hunting. I've always been able to make do without one. But this was, I believe it was I think I got for $3. So for $3, I couldn't pass it up. I'll take that. It's got a sheath with it. I'll throw that in my my hunting pack come deer hunting season, and hopefully be able to get a chance to use it, unlike this year and the last. These Grime Boss hand body wipes. These are just pretty much big wet wipes that you can use on your body. There's like no harsh chemicals, it says, or whatever. I got these for hunting, primitive camping trips, stuff like that. That way you can have, a little bit of, comfort as far as that goes. Had some windshield deicer. These were like on sale for $1. They've got a lot of that winter vehicle stuff on sale, really cheap right now. Those were $1, so I usually buy those at the end of the season. I probably should have bought 2 more of them. I just store them in the garage, or I'll throw one in my car, my wife's car. That way we have it for the next winter. That way we're not like almost everybody else and trying to find the stuff the day before you're supposed to get the blizzard or the ice storm. So I'll actually probably put one of those in our camper as well. So got that stuff. And then, so the item I was talking about that I saw at the other Walmart a few days ago that I found at this other Walmart today for half of what they had marked down for was this Ozark Trail hatchet. Now, as you've probably seen from my channel, if you follow my channel or if you follow my Instagram, I have a fascination with anything with a sharp edge, knives, swords, axes. I've got some pictures and some videos on some axes that I've bought to redo or have redone. So this Ozark Trail, for those of you who don't know, is Walmart's like outdoor camping store brand. They came out with a few years ago. They've got their own line of like folding knives, which you can get on sale for like $2. I think they're usually $3 or $4 full price. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube from knife reviews on those. Those are actually supposed to be actually pretty good knives for just a few dollars that you can buy and not have to worry about if you break them or have to throw them away, but they're actually usable. They have backpacks. They have like the survival stuff, all kinds of camping, outdoor stuff. But they have this, and I don't think I'd ever seen these. But like I said, I really don't go to Walmart that much. They also have like the thermal tumblers that are like knockoffs of the Yeti Tumblers that are really inexpensive and they're awesome. There's a lot of YouTube reviews on those. They actually do as good as the Yetis that you pay like $40 for. Those are totally worth buying. I have a few. I actually bought a few on clearance to put in our camper. Anyway, so this is a blatant knockoff of the Fiskars hatchets and axe. Fiskars, Swedish company, well known for their like their felling items. They're well known for their composite handle axes and hatchets. They've been around for a long time. A lot of people like those. And then you have like the axe purists that despise them because they're not made out of like the super best steel. Don't have wood handles. People's beast with the Fiskars and the composite handled hatchets and axes in general is that it doesn't have an eye that the handle goes up through like a traditional axe. It's actually molded around the head. So if this breaks, you can't replace the handle. So that's a legitimate thing. I have seen a few guys on axe forums and pages on Facebook that have done some crazy stuff to actually make handles for these. But took a lot of work and know how to do it. Anyway, I saw these. I was like, you know what? That's cool. I don't need that because I've got good axes and hatchets. And hi, see, I got a viewer. How you doing there today? You're the first one. I've been going for 15 minutes, and you're my first viewer. How are you? Anyway, so this says that it was $15.82. I don't know if that was the full retail price or if that's a previous sell price. $7. So I bought two for no reason. I was just gonna buy one, but I figured, you know what? I'll buy a second one for $7. I'll try one out, and if it's actually worth the darn, I might just give it away to a buddy or something like that. So anyway, it's pretty light. I'm not sure how heavy it is. I don't see markings on it. It's got this plastic sheath that locks into. It's got carry handle. Hi, how are you doing? That locks into. You just move that tab, and it comes out and you just put it back in there. So that's okay. I mean, you can make a sheath for an axe this size pretty expensively. There's a lot of things you could do, but for the price, that's a pretty good little setup. It's mystery steel. Like I said, there's no markings on it. It's not that. It's probably a pound and a half, 2 pound max head. Not super sharp, but it's actually got pretty good. It's got actual pretty good grind on it. What will I use it for? I do a lot of outdoor stuff as far as hunting, camping, things like that. So I'll obviously try it out for that first. I have actual traditional axes and hatchets that I already have. I usually get the heads from antique stores or garage sales, and they're usually beat up, and I redo them and put new handles on them. But for the price, I thought this would be fun to try out. And if I like it, I might just keep it as a truck axe. I can put it underneath the seat of back seat of my truck, and if it gets lost or stolen or anything, it's no big deal. But it's got pretty good edge, edge geometry on it. It's got pretty good grind. As long as the edge holds up, this will actually probably be good for splitting some smaller diameter pieces of wood in the kindling. You could definitely put a little bit better edge on here if you wanted to. Not sure. The handle is hollow up to a point. I'm not sure where. I think up to here. I don't know. I think where you see orange, it's hollow. And then it goes. Let's do this. Oh no, that's hollow all the way down. Yeah, so that's kind of weird. That's a little bit off-putting. I'm not sure if the Fiskars axes are like that or not. I've never taken a close enough look at one. So as long as you don't expect to do anything crazy with this, it might be okay. Yeah. So that was $7. Be worth going if you're going to be at your local Walmart soon to take a look and see if they have anything like that on sale. Sylvia, should I go over the other things I got here that you missed? You can just comment, tell me yes or no. I do have a few outdoor non-axe related items. Okay. One more outdoor axe related item, okay? So this is a bone saw used for processing larger game animals after they've been harvested. And I do process my own when I hunt, and I do get an animal. So I got this. This is usually about $20 item. I got for, I think it was $3. Might have been $5. I can't remember. Sylvia, if you live in a cold weather environment and you have a vehicle, they had these cans of windshield de-icer on sale for $1 on clearance. Go grab a few and throw them in your trunk or whatever for summer. Radiator stop leak, 50 cents. I like to keep this stuff. You want to go hunting? Well, that's cool. I think there's actually a lot more people that never thought about it are starting to think about it. Not only men, but women also. I think it has something to do with people want to be more self-reliant. They don't want to rely so much on on big corporate industries to get their stuff, whether that be food, water, clothes, whatever. I wish I could do more. I have a small, modest house, but I have a pretty big backyard. So, this spring, I'll have a good little vegetable garden. It's not enough to, um, yeah, exactly what's going on in the world. Sounds like you have a pretty good prepping mentality or whatever you want to call it. Prepper is kind of a, you know, you hear that as a derogatory term uh, with some people nowadays, mostly because of stupid TV shows that have made people that want to be prepared for things look like total wackos, and they've specifically sought out the wackiest people. Um, but being prepared can be for any. I just want to be prepared for whatever. That could be for a giant snowstorm to where I'm snowed in my house for several days and can't get out, or we might lose power. I live in the Midwest. Awesome. Garden shed and collecting rainwater. That's awesome. I have a small water barrel that I collect water to. I don't do. I'm not disciplined with making sure it's hooked up correctly to get as much water as it can. I need to actually do that this spring and build a platform for it so that way it can be up higher and I get the water pressure to be able to water my garden with. I need to do that. Thank you for reminding me about that. Garden shed. Um, I actually want to build a shed. So that way I know how to build a small structure. But today the prices and materials for it all um, are so expensive in some cases that you can go to a local hardware store and you can buy one of the pre-made, snap together like composite uh, construction garden sheds for like $500, and they're good size and they have windows and they're customizable on the inside. So I might just do that to specifically store my garden stuff in the wintertime and some other outdoor storage. So that way it doesn't take up workspace in my little workshop that I have that is technically a garage. But yeah, so Sylvia, you're right. As far as people that haven't hunted before don't realize how hard it is. Um, there are people that have this mentality when it comes to hunting that somebody can just go out into the wilderness with even the most modern hunting equipment, the most modern clothes that make you comfortable and dry in the coldest wet environments, that lock your scent in with the most modern rifle and bullet technology and everything. You're still at a disadvantage when it comes to hunting whatever animals you're hunting. The fact is those animals live in that environment their whole lives, and we don't. We've totally lost that connection, so that they are a total advantage even with the most modern stuff. I can tell you, I took a break for hunting for a long time, um, and it wasn't because I disliked hunting. A lot of it was because in the area I live, um, I personally did not have any private land to hunt on. I didn't know anybody that had private land I could hunt on. So a lot of it was public land, which is fine. The only problem was it was getting really, really, really overpopulated with hunters during hunting season. And like the last time I had been out there, which had been years ago, is before I was even 20, I think. I think I was like 19. I might have been 20. I was bow hunting, and there were just guys everywhere, and I didn't want to deal with it. But I started hunting again about 3 years ago, and I haven't gotten anything. I took a shot at one deer 2 years ago, but I switched from hunting modern archery with a compound bow to hunting with a recurve, traditional, no sights, instinctive shooting, um, which it's fun, but at the same time, if I would have had a compound bow, I would have gotten a deer that year. But I didn't get a deer this year. I didn't make it out as much this year as I wanted to. But anyway, when it comes to hunting, all I can say is, Sylvia, um, I don't know, find somebody wherever you live. I would recommend most states have a hunter's safety course you can attend. So maybe try to find one of those in your local area and take that. And that way you can learn basic safety. You can learn kind of like the laws and everything that have to do with your state. Well, I've hunted with firearms too, as whitetail deer with firearms too. The thing is, where I live in Illinois. The archery season is a lot longer. The archery season is from October 1st till close to the end of January. So that's why I primarily do that. And it's easier to find public land that you can just go on to whenever you want to archery hunt. This year, I'm going to try to go gun hunting. There's a first and second gun season, shotgun season, and that's only like 3 days long for the first and the second season. They're like a month apart, like a few weeks apart. But um, again, take that hunter safety course. I don't know. If you don't, do you know anybody that hunts, Sylvia? Oh, I'm saying your name right. So you don't. So that might make it harder for you to get into it. But there's a lot of people. See, what would be the best way? Can you tell me what state you live in? If you don't want to, that's okay. I understand. This is the interwebs. You live in the city, in the city. So my advice to you would be, if you want to try to get in the hunting, would be to maybe go on your local states, like Department of Natural Resources website. Oh, you live in Michigan. Well, that's awesome. Go to Michigan's like Department of Natural Resources website, or whatever they call it in Michigan. See if there's a hunter safety course you can take, and then I would go and take that. Something like that's usually like maybe like 2 8-hour classes or something like that's what it was when I was a kid in Illinois, at least. Go take that. That way you can kind of learn like the basic, you know, laws and everything for your state, what's available and all that stuff. And then also maybe find out local if there's any archery shops you can go into. You can go in there, talk to them as far as kind of tell them that you weren't getting the hunting. You could also go and find some local gun shops. Now, some gun shops cater more to hunters than others. Some gun shops are more catered towards like competitive shooters, people that want firearms for like self-defense purposes and whatnot. So find a store, preferably a local shop, not like a big box store that sells like hunting shotguns and rifles. Maybe go in there, talk to them. You might have to initially get into it, to maybe go and do it. I hate to tell you to have to do this, but you might have to try to find an outfitter to go and hunt with in Michigan. In Michigan, I would think it'd be somewhat easy, although it can be expensive. Um, an outfitter would be a person that's got their own private land, that'll have deer or some other kind of game animals that you will go and hunt in their land. It can be getting ready for it's part of when I was a kid and first started hunting. I think the first time hunting was when I was 8, and with my dad, obviously, and he was an idiot when it came to every aspect of it. We don't get along in general, but with that, it was pretty much non-enjoyable. There was like the prep work for getting ready to hunt was like throwing a bunch of stuff in the back of the car the night before, hoping you had everything. And then later on in my life, I'm like a month before, I'm in my basement. I've got all my equipment laid out and got like a checklist of everything that I want with me when I'm out in the woods hunting. And I would recommend too, since you live in a cold weather environment like I do, is to make sure that you invest in really good cold weather clothes when you decide to do it. Most specifically, good socks like merino wool socks, and then a good pair of boots as well. That are comfortable to walk in, sized to you, that were not big flopping around. Even like a pair of the brand is Muck Boots, for when it's cooler weather. They're insulated, and I think with like a heavy wool sock, like they can keep your feet warm down to like I think like negative 40 degrees or something like that, and they keep your eyes. I have a pair. I bought them. I think it was last year for hunting, right before hunting season. They were awesome, but I've actually worn them almost all winter, just on my days off, when we've had cold weather and snow, and they're fantastic. They run about $100 for a pair. They're fantastic. But there's all kinds of other boots out there too you can look at. Those would be the big things. Good pair of gloves too to keep your hands warm. Those are the things that always bothered me when I was a kid, or even afterwards, that I didn't invest in. And usually like a wool base layer too, is really good. I don't wear camouflage that much, really. Like I don't get crazy into that. I just have like the cheapest camouflage I can find when I go archery hunting. but anyway, to do that, if something were to happen, you had to end up hunting for your meat. You weren't able to go to the store. You would have to already have the basic knowledge on how to actually go out, hunt a specific animal, and after you killed it, you would have to know what to do with that carcass, as far as getting what you could harvest off it, how to do it, and then how to prepare it too. Because each game animal, can be prepared differently. I'm good. I'm glad it's exciting. It's fun. I think a lot of people don't get it. I think some people they do. They go out and they try it, and they get a better understanding of it when they talk to somebody. But there's some good books out there I can recommend for you. There's a author by the name of Steve Rinella. You can buy his books off Amazon. That's where I got him. He has I can't remember the exact titles of them, but he has a book dedicated for big game and a book dedicated for small game and birds. And each book has chapters that are all about one specific type of game. So like the big game would be like you'd have like a section on deer, and then like a section on like bear, so on and so forth. And then the small game would be, rabbit, squirrels, and then game birds. But each chapter with that animal talks about, gives you information about the animal itself, um, its habits, its habitat, what it does, what it eats, its tracks, all that stuff to help you better understand and hunt that animal. And then at the end of that chapter, it has recipes for that animal. It's pretty cool. The books aren't that expensive either. Steve Rinella also has his own TV show. I think he's had a few, but his most current one's called Meat Eater. I don't know what channel it's on. I watch it on Netflix. So if you just search Meat Eater on Netflix, if you have a Netflix account, you'll find it. It's not the typical hunting show where like Jim Bob goes and sits up in a tree stand for 4 hours and it's boring to watch. It's actually really cool to watch. And then he also has a lot of interviews on YouTube with, if you're familiar with Joe Rogan, the comedian. He's a stand-up comedian, and he had a what was he the host of? Fear Factor back in the day. He's on Joe Rogan's podcast quite a bit. He's down there a lot, and you can listen to those podcasts and learn some stuff from him on there and get a good idea on that. Another guy you could listen to, get interviews for, his name's Cameron Hayes. Yeah, Cameron Hayes. He's a professional hunter. He only bow hunts, and he gets all of his meat through bow hunting. He doesn't even hunt full time. Like he has a full time job, but he travels around and hunts. It's pretty cool. but somebody like you, that's, if something happens and we can't be reliant on stores and whatnot, somebody like you who has a garden, is willing to learn to hunt, or is going to be a lot better off, probably, hopefully, right? You at least have a better chance. Excuse me. Sorry. I just had Chick-fil-A. That's giving me a little heartburn. I'm actually quite excited for planting my garden. I usually get kind of depressed during the winter time because I enjoy going out and spending part of the day tending to the garden and stuff. I've got to pick out when I want to plant this year. So Sylvia, do you plant seedlings, or the Chinese take over? The Chinese and the North Koreans? Well, the Chinese has the population, that's for sure, to try it, but I don't know if they're skilled enough to actually do it. You can have the numbers, but I know it's a joke. But you're probably right. If somebody was going to do it, it'd probably be the Chinese. It would probably be because they're the only ones that, like I said, have the sheer numbers of people to be able to attempt it. That was actually the if you're familiar with the movie Red Dawn and its horrible remake, in the original Red Dawn, which is a fantastic movie that was actually done during the Cold War, which is starring Patrick Swayze and Tom Cruise. Okay, you know what you're talking about then. Sun keeps coming out. The remake was the Chinese and the North Koreans. If you've never seen that, So, but I don't know if they would, like I said, that many soldiers. I don't think enough of them would be skilled enough soldiers to be able to take our country. I don't know. It's a fun little, well, I guess I shouldn't say fun. It's a neat little thing to think about, I guess. It's one of the possible most doomsday scenarios to think about, right? Even though it'd probably be more like a economic collapse, we'd have to, it's probably what would happen, for us to actually have to go out and be self-sufficient on a full-time level. Absolutely, to be on the safe side. That's the thing. When I was talking about the Preppers TV show earlier when you first came on, those yahoos were like, each person was like, "Oh, I'm preparing for this." And it was like one thing. And it was like, "I'm preparing for a nuclear war. I'm preparing for a solar flare EMP attack," or whatever. Or I think there was like a few people that were like preparing for like an earthquake that would like cut the U.S. into 4 pieces or whatever. Instead of just being like, "No, I'm just kind of preparing in general for whatever, whether it's a man-made thing or a natural thing." Excuse me. Let's try. I think a lot of people, they focus too much on prepping as far as like buying long-term storage stuff and like hoarding it. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't have like a vast amount of space to like hoard freeze-dried food. I just don't. Um, so you're actually not, you shouldn't do that. If you have some space, some extra money, absolutely buy some long-term food you can store. But actually, you're much better off to help supplement. But you're actually much better off learning to garden, learning to hunt. So learning to go harvest your own food, to grow your own food, and then something me and my wife started doing a few years ago. We moved into our house 5 years ago, I think. Soap making. Do you make the lye soap where you like boil the wood ash down to make your own lye soap? Because if you do, that's pretty hardcore. Soap making something I want to try. As far as collecting wood ash, boiling it down to make the lye, and then mixing it with like the lard and everything. I want to try that. Um, but um, I planted a raspberry bush in our backyard. We moved in our house about 5 years ago, and it took a few years. And all of a sudden, the next like a few years, we'd get like a little bit of raspberries off it, and then the next year, just boom, just exploded, and we get quite a few raspberries off it every year now, enough to where we make quite a bit of raspberry preserves. You said you do soap making. Do you make the lye soap? Like I've seen, you can make soap by you boil down wood ash to make your own lye solution, and then you mix in um like lard. I think it's lard, and you can mix other things into like herbs or essential oils or whatnot to make the soap. Or soy. I think people use like there's something you make use soy to make soap as well. But with the raspberries, we make quite a bit of raspberry preserves every year, and usually we even have some jars left over the next year when we start making the next year's batch. We do give it away. We give it out for um, like Christmas gifts and whatnot. Just give it as gifts to people, the family and friends. We do the same with herbs. We grow quite a few herbs. Herbs are really easy to grow, especially if you plant ones that can come back every year, um, like sage or rosemary. Sage and rosemary um, can come back every year. I think it was last year. Um, my sage did get killed off over the winter, but if I would have covered it better, it probably would have came back. But we'll take we'll harvest the herbs several times throughout the season, and I'll dry them out, just air dry them. I'll tie them up in bundles. Oh, borax. Okay. I'm gonna have to look that up. I haven't looked that method up. I'm gonna have to do that. I would like to do that. I stopped. Me and my wife both. We have tried buying soaps that don't have a lot of chemicals and stuff in it. Um, there's a few companies out there. I mean, I actually have like they're actually pretty expensive. They have like all natural soap products that you can get in box stores now. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that method up, and I might have to check that out and try that out this summer. Then, um, I actually started buying. There's a company called Doctor Sasquatch, and it's a soap company that some guy just started. He was just making soap for himself, and you get a monthly subscription. And I get a subscription of 2 bars of soap a month, which each bar usually lasts me about 2 weeks. He's got a bunch of different varieties, and I love it. I actually just got it last month. I love it so far. The soap's really great. So far, it hasn't like dried my skin out or anything like that. It's really nice. Do you grow any herbs, Sylvia? I grow rosemary and sage, and then chives, and then basil. Usually, you have to plant basil every year. It usually dies off in our winters. Um, did lavender last year. We got some of that dried. Wow, $13 to make 5 gallons of that soap. That's pretty awesome. And then what? You just like pour that out in the baking sheets and let it set, and then cut it in the bars. Or is that a liquid soap or like a soft soap? Either way, it's awesome. Okay. Uh, definitely, definitely do some. And the cool thing about herbs, when me and my wife got our house, we knew we wanted to do a vegetable garden, but we moved in our house in, I think it was like early July. So late June, early July, something like that. So we really couldn't plant a whole lot. We planted some cherry tomatoes, which you can do in like just like a big planter pot. Um, but then we did some herbs. You can do those in planters too outside. So if you don't have the space, or the time, you can do it in pots if you want to. I will say the herbs do better in the ground. Excuse me, they will get bigger and produce more. Excuse me, I apologize. That's rude. Um, to Yeah, that's pretty much the staple things that I grow too. I don't do garlic, but I didn't get to go out there last year. I just didn't, because I was doing a remodel of our house, so I didn't get a chance to really work on our garden a whole lot. So I actually didn't do very well this last year. But there's an old family plot of land about 10 minutes from my house. That way, um, it was my mom's uncle's property. It's like an acre of land. It's sit off the road, back. No one's ever there. Like anyway, he planted a bunch of stuff out there, and you can go out there and you can dig up garlic, in the spring, and asparagus. There's garlic and asparagus everywhere. It's nuts. I need to go out there and harvest garlic out there this year because I didn't do it last year. I need to do that this year because I use a lot of garlic. Or I might try growing it in buckets this year because I know you can grow garlic in buckets as well, I believe. He's supposedly have potatoes out there too, so I'm assuming you can dig up potatoes. I'm not sure how that works. Something I want to do this year, we planted a little bit of chamomile or chamomile. I don't know if how you say that, last year, but I didn't plant it in a good spot. I think it got smothered by other stuff. But I'm gonna make. I have. Yep, staple foods. Because a lot of that stuff you can you can pickle and can, or you can dehydrate too, right? That's the thing with the herbs too. We obviously use the herbs fresh, but we dry them out. I just take the herbs and I bundle them together, tie a string on the end of them, and I hang them in my basement or wherever you can. That's a dry area with air circulation, and they take a few weeks to dry out sometimes. And we use those year round, and they're better than anything you would buy in the store. If you touch them, you get the oils from the herbs on your hands. It's just you can't. We actually have family members that will text and that will beg us for, oh, do you have any sage? Do you have, that sage was awesome you gave me last year. Do you have any of that rosemary? Can I have some rosemary? Can I have some sage? It's just fantastic. But yeah, the staple stuff, definitely. I wish I had an area I could do potatoes. Although I've read you can do like potatoes in buckets. I just don't know how appealing that would be to my neighbors. And the city, they have like 5-gallon buckets spread out in my yard of potatoes growing. And actually, out at that spot of land I was just talking about, hopefully this year I'm going to try to get out there, and it's overgrown, because so it would have been my great uncle, I guess. He died, I don't know, over 20 years ago. Probably more than that even. I can't remember how old I was when he died. So it's way overgrown. So I want to clear some spots out, and try to be able to harvest some of the stuff that's still growing out there, like the garlic and the asparagus, and see if there's anything else. There was a blackberry, and raspberry bush out there. I went out there last year to pick some, and there's railroad tracks that run along the property, and there was nothing there, and it looked like everything was dead. So I don't know if it started producing a lot earlier in the season and birds and animals got to the stuff, or if sometimes the railroads will actually just go along the railroads and spray herbicides uh, there. So gardening's relaxing, I think. Um, I know I do most of the cooking in my house. Because my schedule allows me, my work schedule allows me to, and I generally know how to cook more things than my wife does. Um, I'm willing to put more work into certain things. Oh wow, that's cool. You bought a side lot from the city. That's fantastic. I would like to do that myself. Unfortunately, a lot of where I live, property is pretty expensive. Whether it's inside the city or even outside the city, can be pretty expensive. But that's awesome. That's fantastic that you're able to do that. I like waking up early in the morning when it's nice out, and I'm gonna make something for breakfast, like a omelet or something like that, and I'll come out barefoot in the grass, uh, and I'll cut fresh chives and herbs or tomatoes or whatever to throw right in the omelet. There's nothing better than walking out your door, walking a few feet, gathering some food you're growing in your yard yourself, and going inside, and within 10-20 minutes it's on a plate and you're eating it. It's pretty awesome. I was gonna say, Sylvia, another way that you could possibly get into hunting. Hope this isn't a. Are you married or in a relationship? I'm not hitting on you. I'm married. Okay, this is just a question. Go. Show. I didn't get to read your whole comment before it shut down. You can't see. So it sucks about doing this on your phone. You can't see the stream of comments. Like it goes away. If you can pull them back up, I can't find it. But anyway, so Sylvia, what I was asking was, you're wanting to get into hunting and other stuff. You could maybe again, I ask again, if you're not married or not in a relationship, you could possibly. I met my wife through the internet because I was too busy to go out. Okay, again, I hope it doesn't offend you asking, but I met my wife through the internet, so like you could possibly, if you're interested in dating and whatnot, that is, again, don't mean to offend you. Maybe find somebody through the internet that has a like-mindedness as far as you, for self-reliance, as far as, gardening, going out and getting your own food and stuff, maybe that way, if you were wanting to do that, at least, or you might just be able to find a friend that's willing to do that will too. Not as a romantic relationship as well, I guess. It's a very awkward question. Sorry. And in Michigan, that shouldn't be hard to do. I'm assuming there's lots of outdoorsmen in Michigan that are looking for a or outdoorsmen or outdoorswomen. I don't make assumptions. Sorry. No, you can get in trouble nowadays for asking this stuff. So I'm gonna say outdoorsman or woman. So just in case, it doesn't matter. But I'm assuming there's a lot of outdoor hunters and people that are self-reliant people. Okay, got it. In Michigan, that you could probably find over the internet to teach you some of the stuff. Yes, adoption. There you go. It's hard to it's hard. Besides that, it's hard for me to figure out where someone who doesn't know anyone to get into hunting could just off the cuff go learn to hunt. Because I grew up in a family that's hunted. I have friends that hunted, so it's it's hard. I was lucky, I guess. Thank you. Okay. Let me ask you this, Sylvia. Can I ask what are your religious beliefs? Too. Do you have any? I should say. The reason I ask is that I have either way, it shouldn't matter. I have a YouTube channel recommendation for you. It's the I'm saying this right. The I've been tongue tied all day. The Thrillian perspective. If you search in YouTube Varg Vikernes, and if you type in Varg Varg Vikernes, will probably pop up behind it already. And his YouTube channel is a Thrillian perspective. He's a pretty interesting character. You either like him and appreciate what he has to say, or you hate him. He's Norwegian. He lives in France with his wife and his kids. He's actually one of the most like you lost, yeah. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of people out there like that. Like, you talk about it and they don't get it. They just don't, and that's unfortunate. I think that's actually part of what's wrong with our society, that people aren't willing to be self-reliant. They want everything. You have people that they want the government to provide everything for them, or they want a corporation to provide it all for them. Not that, I am by no means, I didn't make this vest. Well, that sucks. You have to keep to yourself for that. That really does. That's a shame. But YouTube is a good place to learn things and find people. You never know who you actually might find in your area through this. Non-practicing Catholic, okay. The only reason I ask is because the channel I'm speaking of, the Thrilling Perspective with Varg Vikernes, Varg is a pagan. He, like I say, he's Norwegian, so he follows the old pre-Christian religion of Europe, of Northern Europe, and the Germanic areas. So Odin, Thor, all those pagan gods, and some people don't like watching him just because of that. They might be Christians of Christian faith because he believes Christianity is a invading alien religion to Europe, which it pretty much kind of is, unfortunately. I'm actually a pagan myself, although I have way more friends that are practicing or non-practicing Christians and pagans. But so, but anyway, so what I'm telling you to go and visit Varg's channel is his big thing is he preaches self-reliance and autonomy. So he lives on a small patch of land with his wife and his, how many kids does he have now? 5 kids. His wife is pregnant right now with their 6th kid, and they live in a small house. But everything's paid for. They don't have a mortgage. They don't have car payments. They don't have payments on their property. Nothing. They homeschool all their kids. Their kids obviously speak French because they live in France and their mother's French. I believe they speak or are learning Norwegian because he's Norwegian, and they're also learning English. I tried taking a Spanish class in junior high school for like a week and got kicked out of it. So that's amazing. But they are turning their property into a, I never heard this term before, permaculture, which is pretty much making it into a wild edible forest. So they grow a lot of stuff. But they're watch a Thor movie. Yeah, unfortunately, I have a very I ruined those movies after I started learning about the the pre-Christian European religions and what all the gods and goddesses stand for, and the mythology, be it the stories behind it. It kind of sucks because I just, like I said, I just ruined it. Thor actually isn't blonde. Thor has red hair. So, is that Liam Hemsworth or Chris? I can't remember which Hemsworth that is that plays Thor in the movies. Doesn't look anything what Thor would look like. There's actually another guy that's in those movies. That's one of his buddies that has the big beard and the long hair. Actually looks more like what Thor would be depicted as. And then in the movies, they have Odin lost his eye fighting the ice giants. That's not how Odin lost his eye. Odin, one of the big things that you take from Odin is sacrifice. That you must sacrifice in order to obtain things. And Odin's main focus in life was knowledge, to learn, and he pulled out his own eye as a sacrifice to the giant Mimir to be able to drink from the well of knowledge. That's how Odin lost his eye. Now, I'm not telling anyone that they want to obtain something to pull their eye out. It's just a metaphor. guess. But anyway, so his big thing is they're trying to build a self-sustaining property to where they can grow stuff year-round, or as long as they can. It's pretty interesting. But then he just talks about the general downfall of society, on what his opinions are, what's caused that, or what he thinks has caused that is causing that, and how to, not really how to stop it. His opinion is that you can't stop it. It's already actually started to fall, and anything that we do is just prolonging it. But but his big thing is we need to live. Yeah, Hollywood unfortunately does ruin everything. There's very few movies I've seen that were actually based off true events or books that actually turned out as good as those. There's a few, but most of the time they get ruined. It's just a shame. And to be fair, they didn't ruin. It wasn't Hollywood necessarily. The Marvel Comics is the one that came up with Thor as a comic book character in the first place. So, I guess really the blame is on them. But the actual, the poetic, if you go and you read the poetic Eddas, which is supposed to be the stories and the poems of the gods and goddesses, and some of the other sagas of the Norse, it's very fascinating stuff. Do you know what your like your ethnic your ethnic heritage is, Sylvia, by chance? You know where your ancestors have come from at all? I have a little bit of an idea. I actually would like to take one of the DNA tests to actually see for sure exactly. I'll tell you a few places real quick, to where you can learn more about stuff too. You can do your general Google searches on it all, but sometimes there's a lot of new age nonsense, as you will, that people put into it. But um there's some. So you have Varg's channel. Varg has videos specific with the European paganism, and then his wife, his wife's channel is Marie Crochet. If you go to Varg's channel, From the Jungle, well, that's cool too. Here's the thing. So are you talking like Central South America? I'm assuming. Central South America. From the Jungle. Yep. But so So if you want to learn about the European paganism, again, Varg Vikernes' channel, and then his wife's channel, which his wife's channel just Marie Crochet. And you can find her channel through his channel. Her channel is subtitled. She only does it in French. They both have videos on the pre-Christian European paganism. They also both have books on it too. But if you want to, but you can also buy a copy of the Poetic Eddas, which gives stories and mythology about the gods. You have the Havamal, which is poems and words of Odin, which is pretty cool. Pretty good, easy reads because they're interesting. And then there's another YouTube channel. It's Dr. Jackson Crawford. He is a actual professor in Old Norse language. He has a very good detailed YouTube channel on pre-Christian Europe, and he talks about pre-Christian the pre-Christian European ages. So he talks about the gods and goddesses, the mythology behind those, the language, and he also talks about like straight up Viking stuff. Okay, gotcha. Your phone's buffering. But as far as you said you're from the jungle. So like I said, I'm assuming Central South America, somewhere in there. The thing is every culture around the world, whether it is you come from European people, African people, Middle East, East Asian, South Central America, indigenous American people, all have a polytheic pagan religion before Christianity came along and made its way throughout the world, or any of the Abrahamic religions. So not only Christianity, but Judaism and Islam as well. Not just Christianity. So by all means, look up and learn about the European paganism. But I would also recommend, if your ancestors did come from like Central South America, look up those pagan religions and rituals as well, because what I found personally when I started learning about it, I know I have relatives that came from Germany, and then my mom's maiden name is derived from a Old Norse name for barn dweller. So on her side, they might have been like, they might have been some kind of livestock farmers or something like that. But and I've seen other people, no matter where they're from, they've looked into those pre-Abrahamic religions from where their ancestors come from, and they find that they have a huge connection with that it just somehow just strikes home to them, like almost like it's ingrained in like in their DNA. I know there's a story that another good guy to look up, not only his books, but he's got some YouTube videos and interviews. Stephen McNallen. He's big on the Norse Germanic religions. He was kind of like the founder that kind of like brought it back, like reviled it in the United States. But he got a story about a guy that he knew he was in the military. Oh, Aztecs. Yeah, cool. Look that up. That'd be pretty interesting. Yep. But this guy, there was a guy in his unit who was black, and he was getting into the European Norse religion. And this this guy said, you know, he's like, your ancestors from Africa. And the guy got really offended. He's like, what? So I can't look to these gods because I'm black? And he's like, well, no, you can do what you want. But um, he gave this guy a few names, like names of deities that I guess made up most of the deities in Africa. Yes, yeah, Aztecs and Mayans were pagans, exactly. So all of our ancestors, back to a point, were pagans. People worshiping only one god is a fairly new thing in the scope of things. But anyway, so this guy went and he researched these pre Abrahamic religion African gods and goddesses, specifically this one deity in particular. He was like a warrior god. He was like the Thor equivalent to the African gods. And this guy came to this other guy. He goes, man, I'm glad you told me about that. And I realize what you're saying now, because he read up on this warrior god, and he's like, that's me. I was jipping myself thinking I can make, something, that's me. That's just everything that specific deity is supposed to stand for. I do. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Learn about all of them. Look into the European ones. Look into the Aztecs and Mayans for sure. That's awesome. And it seems like a lot of people are going back in their cultures and learning more about their cultures as far as the paganism goes. There's a big resurgence in the Slavic countries of the pre-Christian Slavic religions as well, which is pretty cool. You have any questions for me, Sylvia, as far as maybe that topic goes, or any of the hunting or outdoor stuff goes, maybe, or preparedness type stuff goes? Instead of me just blabbering. What you just said right there, um, Sylvia, about when you're about 9 that you felt there was something strange about your religion. That's the thing that a lot of people, when they find out about paganism, where again, whether that's from Central South America, Europe, wherever it is that your ancestors came from, it clicks, and um, yeah, they just stop. And I personally was never an atheist. I guess I was the term agnostic, as far as I was like, I don't know if there's a God. But you know, people want to throw religion out with the bathwater now, but unfortunately, they're just thinking of the Christian God, or maybe the Judaic. Well, the Jewish and Christian God are the same, pretty much. They're the same gods. People even want to argue that the Muslim God is the same as well. They're both They both come from the same area, part of the world. So, but they um, it's foreign to them. It's just everything about it, and I can't speak for all the pagan culture, but I can speak for like the European pagan religions, that um it isn't about submitting to this deity and kneeling, and like what I don't understand, and I don't like about the Christian religion, is that you have to submit to this God, um and you have to believe that everything that you obtain is because of this God, and you are not to love or put anyone before this God. So you aren't supposed to love your children more than this God. If you had to choose between this God and your children, you would have to choose between that God. That's insane. It's so insane to me. Whereas the European religions, it's taught, the gods teach you that, you know some of the gods may favor you. You may do things that will help. They might give you a little help now and again, but you have to put the work in. If you do something and you obtain something, that's because of you. They also teach that somebody who puts anyone or anything before their family or their tribe, their kin, they don't like that. There's actually story in the Poetic Eddas. I have watched American. You know what? I have watched American Gods. I actually watched that this summer. My wife had her appendix taken out over the summer, so she just unfortunately got to sit on the couch all summer long. But we binge watched it, and um, I actually liked it. If some of the deities in that I don't know a whole lot about, so I can't speak for them. But as far as Mr. Wednesday, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I will tell you um, that Mr. Wednesday, or Odin, Wednesday is Odin's day. Odin has many names. Some of them are it's like Odin is more of the um, Northern European name for Odin. A little bit further south, it might be Woden or Wotan. It's Wotan in the Germanic areas, I believe. Excuse me. But that character is portrayed in that show pretty well compared to um, what Odin's supposed to be, to a point. It's pretty good. I like that show. I'm not sure when the next season is supposed to start. I think sometime here soon, hopefully. I'm pretty excited to watch it when it comes back on. But since he revealed who he was, but yeah, and it's definitely, yep. And I'll just straight up say, something that got me to thinking about to look into the stuff a little bit more was the History Channel series Vikings, obviously, which that show I actually stopped watching. It went full Hollywood, and it's just not. It's just not. It's just I just can't watch it anymore, unfortunately. But it's not bad. Like, I tried watching it this season. I don't have cable though, so I've only seen a few episodes of this latest season. Um, Most of it for me was a lot of those characters. Like the first few seasons were really good, but the later seasons, some of those characters were real life people, and they go off the path of what historically we know about those people, which for me is ridiculous. That you have, like, Rollo was a real person, Ragnar Lothbrok was a real person, and you have the of what is what believed to be, well, supposedly Ragnar slayed a dragon. So, whether he killed a dragon, or maybe it was so long ago that it was like the last dinosaur on Earth that he killed or something. But anyway, you have these real people with lots of literature, um, reporting of what they had supposedly done throughout their lives, and they go off that. It's just kind of off-putting. It's still an entertaining show, though. So, but I think American Gods does a better job as far as with the pagan religions too. Excuse me. Goodness. They're tearing down a building just on the other side of the houses across the street from my house. It was a restaurant that burnt down last year. They're getting ready to rebuild. It was nice talking to you too, Sylvia. If you do me a favor, subscribe to my channel, The Smoking Medic, on YouTube. I don't get the chance to post videos much. I'm gonna try to do these live streams, and then there should be a link to my Instagram account if you have an Insta. I hope to talk to you soon too. If you have an Instagram account, you can go to my Instagram account. I think there's a link in my description. It's just The Smoking Medic on Instagram. Instagram's pretty cool too. You actually might be able to network through that as well. So, but you have yourself a good day at work, Sylvia. It was great talking to you. Thank you for watching and chatting with me this time. Awesome. I thought I recognized your name. I know I've gotten a few subscribers, even though I haven't put out that many videos in the last year or so. So thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. But anyway, go to my Instagram if you have Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, get on it. It's pretty cool, actually. To me, a lot of like-minded people. But if you have any specific questions, if you have any questions about anything, you can send me a message on YouTube, which I may or may not get, or you can send it to me through an Instagram direct message as well, and I'll either send it to you, resend it to you, your answers in that, or maybe I can do this as a live stream subject as well. All right, Sylvia. Well, you have a good day now. Enjoy your day at work. I hope you have a good one.